Welcome back, and we welcome now one of the best-known authors in the world, Terry Pratchett. His series of comic fantasy novels called Discworld has sold millions. In fact, altogether, he sold almost 60 million books. But just before Christmas last year, Terry was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. While some would keep that information to themselves, he's facing it with typical openness and candour and humour. He calls it an embuggerance, and said there's time at least for a few more books, even now. More books we hope will be on their way. Terry is not only on his way, he's here. Welcome, Terry. Very good to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
Did you debate with yourself whether to go public with this news, and in the end you thought you might help other people if you did?
It never crossed my mind to keep quiet. When I was a young journalist, people would die after a long illness, and the word they were avoiding was cancer.
Yeah.
And it did strike me that as soon as people started to call cancer by its real name, the research began in real earnest. And while cancer is not conquered, many battles have clearly been won. And I thought, no, I'm not going to hide in a hole somewhere. I've got PCA, which is a type of Alzheimer's which starts at the back of the brain. And if you're going to have Alzheimer's, apparently it's the best kind to have. But it means, you know, for quite some time, I'll be able to talk quite coherently about things and continue to write. And I hope to make quite a lot of noise.
Quite a lot of noise, and I'm sure you will. It's a great idea. Did you have any symptoms that made you check up?
The curious thing is that I ask myself at the moment, what would I be like now at the age of 60 without Alzheimer's? Because one never has any experience of getting older. You know, you get older. That's the first time.
First time you know about it. Yeah.
You know about it. And sometimes I think I suffer from two diseases. One is Alzheimer's, and one is knowing that I've got Alzheimer's. And if I didn't know I'd got Alzheimer's, I'd say, well, everybody loses their car keys sometimes, and that's what everybody says. And actually, that's pretty much all. But my spelling is now erratic.
Really?
Thank goodness for the spell checker. It's that I'll be typing away. I used to touch type. I type a lot more slowly. I'm now learning, though, in fact, that I thought my brain controlled my hands, but in fact, as it were, the body has some memories of its own, almost apparently. My fingers still travel towards the keys that I want. And now I'm beginning to realise that if I actually pay attention to my fingers rather than to my brain, things are a lot better. But it was it was
like typing wearing gloves, you said.
Yes, it was. But that was because I was a brain that wasn't functioning properly was actually trying to take over hands that were. Mm. So I think we may be seeing a way forward on that one. But I'll be typing and I'll forget how to spell the word else. Yeah. And yet, 2 words later, I'll type transubstantiation without a care in the world, as if a light is flickering on and off.
And embuggerance was a splendid invention, and you knew how to spell that.
Well, yes, it is. I believe it's an old military term.
Oh, is it?
I was possibly the first one to utter it.
But you're still working hard, are you?
Well, yes, and it's we celebrate 25 years of the Discworld series this year, because most of the books have been #1 bestsellers, and I'm sitting on some very prestigious sofas, but I can't help but think that many of those sofas I'm sitting on because I've got Alzheimer's.
No, it's the anniversary as well.
Well, as well. But I've been doing a lot of work on behalf of the Alzheimer's Research Trust and the Society and associated charities. And I think that's a useful thing to do.
And how has it changed your attitude, Terry, to the diary, let's say? I mean, everybody has a finite time to live. I mean, and normally people don't know how long that is. But has it made you change your priorities, or go to more football matches, or to change your life at all?
Well, been fortunate enough to be able to build for myself the kind of life that I like. I try not to be a slave to the diary. At the moment, the emails we get are so numerous that if my PA and I even attempted to read them all every day, I suspect the whole day would be taken up. As far as for answering them, not a chance, I'm sorry to say. And the same goes with the mail in general. So I'm just keeping focused on the idea that I should write, because that's what I really like doing. I mean, I really do like writing, and it's a therapy in itself. And I get exercise, and I do gardening, and I follow the advice of one researcher who said, surround yourself with toys. And he didn't mean things to play with. Meet people, go and do things, try new things, keep your life an interesting life, and that's what I'm doing.
Has it made any difference to your attitude? You've always said you're an atheist, but then you said that you had one experience that you couldn't explain without something supernatural going on.
Technically, I'm a humanist. And I only learned recently that humanism did not automatically mean atheism. I have no belief in big beards in the sky. I believe there may be some order somewhere behind all the physics of the universe.
I think a lot of people think that God's got a beard rather like yours.
Bigger than mine, I suspect. But I was rushing off because we had yet another interview to go to, and I heard, there was no voice from the sky, but it was as if I'd had a memory, as if someone had spoken, and I was just remembering what had been said, and it was just, okay, things are going as they should be, just don't worry about it. Now, whether or not that's heavenly consolation or otherwise, I don't know, but curiously, for just a moment or two, I was at some peace. But it could have been my memories of my dad, who was very stoical about things. You know, he always used to say, you've got to be philosophical about things, and what he always meant was, you've got to be stoical about it. And he approached difficulties and things that he could not change with a certain amount of grace, including his own death. So the brain, even one like mine, does work in very strange ways.
And are you as happy as you were before you found out about this?
Well, Alzheimer's hovers, as it were, in front of my imagination, just in the corner somewhere, like a kind of station ID. And so it's always there. But yeah, curiously, yes, the day after I was diagnosed, I was working in the garden and realised that I was whistling, that somehow there was this natural pond of cheerfulness somewhere from which stuff was bubbling up. And there are many things to take pleasure in if you keep your eye to business.
Yes, and if you take them as blessings, and then they probably bring as much happiness as they would in a normal situation.
But the thing is that when I'm writing, I mean, there really is no problem about the development of a script. It is entirely down to the typing, and the reason this is a problem is that for a born journalist, which I practically was, the rhythm of hitting the keys is almost the rhythm of thinking. You need the therapy of hitting the keys to think. And that is slightly problematical because that's now gone.
But you could dictate. Do you dictate?
Oh yes, actually,
now?
not only can I dictate, I can create while dictating, because if I have to tell a story to someone, it will unroll in front of my eyes, and so the problems of what will happen next aren't problems, because I can hear my own voice actually saying, as if I'm reading from somewhere inside my head. I mean, things have to be slower. We have more mail to answer, and I really think one of the things I should be doing is doing things like this. You know, keeping Alzheimer's in the public eye, which it now is rather more these days, I'm pleased to say, although it's certainly not just because of me. People are getting more worried about it because the baby boomers are now hitting, is it beginning to hit the problem area, and us baby boomers who grew up with the cod liver oil and the free milk and all the rest of it, suddenly are now being delivered into those places where the cures aren't so readily available, and probably won't take very kindly to it.
Yes, you had a wonderful quote in terms of research and so on and cures. That quote you said once, "I'd cut the arse out of a dead mole if it offered a fighting chance."
Yes, I had approached from a mole catcher in Somerset about that one. As you may expect, I get approached a lot. There are so many cures for Alzheimer's out there that I'm surprised it still exists. But every once in a while there comes one that looks quite interesting, and I follow that one up. Within, I think, about a month of being diagnosed, I had all the amalgam fillings removed from my mouth. I also...
Why was that?
It contained mercury.
Oh, I see.
And I have to tell you about the Greek chorus. All my fans clogged up the website saying, "Is there anything we can do to help?" And I said, "Not unless you're a high-end brain surgeon." And high-end brain surgeons started turning up saying, I've read your books ever since I was a student. And we got quite a number of people around the world in various medical positions were advising me. And you know how it is. There's always a slight wall between your GP and yourself, whereas a doctor you've known since he was a lad at school will be very expansive and forthcoming because he hasn't a direct responsibility for you, and so there isn't that particular relationship. He can talk to you as an old chum. And we found out who these gentlemen are, and not just gentlemen. They keep me in touch with what's happening in the industry and give advice. And when I said, "Should I have the amalgam fillings taken out of my mouth?" and they all said, "Oh, well, there's no real scientific evidence, but if you can afford it, it might be worth a try."
What does not having mercury do for one?
Well, mercury is not a good substance to have in the body in any case. And I really don't know, except that I haven't got it anymore. But I feel pretty good. I do feel rather good. Mind you, I have, I take so much turmeric every day that I smell a bit like an Indian restaurant.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, that this has been a really very inspiring conversation. And I think when you took the decision you did to go public with this, that you've enabled a lot of other people probably to do the same thing in their own groups and so on, and probably learn a great deal as a result.
Thank you. That is happening, I have to say.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.